Shalom. Hey, everybody. Welcome. I know it's been a while since I have been, on my channel, so I am not going to waste a lot of time. I've been pretty busy working on several projects, but the main project really is I'm trying to focus on my book right now. So at the end of this seminar, I will go into detail and kind of give you some highlights of what I'm going to include in terms of the subject matter in my upcoming book, The Bread of Heaven. But what I would like to focus on right now in this presentation is a lot of the comments that I get from people that keep, telling me what they think they know when they read the English translation of the ancestral records of our people. First of all, you don't understand what you're reading, and these are the people that are still under the mental subjugation of the oppressor, of Massa. Yeah, I had one gal who wrote in and said something about the 400-year prophecy, the prophecy that she thinks is a prophecy about 400 years of servitude here, that somehow that we're going to be liberated in 2019, that she mentioned the reason for the prophecy was to fulfill something about the Messiah. And I kind of laughed because clearly she doesn't understand that the word Massa and the word Messiah is the same word. There is no difference in the language of our people, but because she is reading with a Massa mindset, what she thinks she understands in English, she has no clue that who she thinks is the Messiah is the very oppressor that has been subjugating our people for well over a millennia, not 400 years, much longer. So at any rate, that's why I wanted to do this particular seminar. So without further ado, I'm going to get to it and help the people who are still under their subjugation. I mean, again, I'm going to continue to reiterate this. If you do not take the time to begin learning the language, the Shemitic language of our people, so you can finally read and understand what you're reading in our ancestral records, you will never understand. You will continue to be enslaved in the mind control and the spell that they have you under through the translation that they have given you. And I'm going to tell you exactly what that translation is. Would you like to see an example of what I'm referring to? Well, let me show you. So if we go to, let's say, for example, the book of Samuel, the second book of Samuel, chapter 24, it discusses the census that David had taken in Israel. So I'm just going to read this briefly. It says, "The Lord's anger against Israel flared again, and he incited David against them. Go, take a census of Israel and Judah." So I'm going to read it one more time. "The Lord's anger against Israel flared again, and he incited David against them. Go, take a census of Israel and Judah." So let's stop right there. So one of the things we need to understand is that many of the books that were written primarily in the original Testament, what they did was they did reiterations of the very same books. Like, for example, the book of Samuel was originally known as, you'll find in some of the earlier translations, as one of the books of Kings. Well, they gave you a reiteration of the same story. For example, in the book of Chronicles, you'll find some of these stories also reiterated, especially about the history of King Dawa, who they refer to as David, in Chronicles, for example. So let's take a look at the same story there. So if we look at the book of Chronicles, 1 Chronicles 21, it says, this is chapter 21, it's the same story regarding the census. And notice it says, the census, the plague. I'm going to read this verse. It says, "A Satan rose up against Israel, and he incited David to take a census of Israel." I'm going to read it once more, slowly. "Satan rose up against Israel, and he incited David to take a census of Israel." So if you look at this verse here, talking about the same story, but this time, what do you see as the difference? If you look at it in Samuel, it's referring to the Lord. The Lord prompted David to take the census. However, when you look at it in the book of the same version of the story, slightly different, it's telling you that Satan incited David. So which one is it? Is it the Lord or Satan? Or, you have to understand, in their upside down world, the Lord and Satan is one and the same entity. And that's who they want you to worship, because you have to understand, the name of our Creator, they removed from the original text, the original writings of our people, and replaced it with who they wanted you to worship. And that's why you are getting this translation, and what you're reading is referring to the Lord that they serve. And also helps you to understand who Satan really is. Because even the word Satan, they did not give you a full understanding. They misled you and lied to you about even what that word means. So before we even talk about that, let's talk about, we might as well, actually, before we even talk about that, let's take a look at the word Lord and what that actually means in the writings of our people. So if we go to the lexicon, and what I find interesting about even the lexicon, it tells you what the Bible was originally written in. Okay, it says it right here. Even in the lexicon, it says the Bible was written in Hebrew, and they're referring to the original Testament. But when they say Hebrew, they're not talking about modern, the so-called modern Hebrew that is not the language of our people. They are referring to what is they would like to refer to as ancient Hebrew, which is essentially a Western Shemitic language, the language of our people. And that's what it was originally written in. It tells you right here, for the people who still, again, under their mind control and under the spell of the people that gave you, this translation, this corrupt translation, what it really means. Okay, it was originally written in the language of our people. It wasn't written in English. So you thinking that you understand what you're reading in English, you are actually have been deceived, and you can continue to deceive yourself into thinking that what you're reading is the truth. The sad fact is you don't know the difference right now because of the mind control that you're under. So until you awaken your inner Shemitic mind, the Shemitic mind within, you will never understand what you're reading. So let me just show you, for example, this word. Let's take, for example, the word Lord. Okay? If we look at the word Lord very quickly, it already tells you in our language what the word Lord means. Right here. It means Baal. And I already told you, I've done videos on what the word Baal actually means. It means pale. It's for paleness. Okay, it's the pale rulers. And that's what the word Lord means. It means rulers. It has several connotations here, but it means rulers. And those are the people, that are currently ruling. And that's why they call themselves lords. And this is why they have removed the original name of our Creator, and they have given you this name Lord, because they want you to believe that that is who you should be worshiping. But no, you should not be worshiping who they refer to as the Lord, because we already know, who they worship. It's not who we worship, our Creator, our Father. They're worshiping someone else, and also, his brothers, okay, known as the fallen angels. So, but this word Lord, it tells you right here, rulers, lords, because they like to refer to themselves as lords, as they did in the Middle Ages. You remember they used to call themselves lords, and they still do when you watch their little, their epic fantasy films about themselves in the Middle Ages. And also, you notice that the word Lord also means foreign gods, because again, they worship their father, Lucifer, as well as his brothers, the fallen angels. That's why they use the plural term as well. And then they refer to Baal as themselves. So again, there are several connotations for this word, but I want you to understand what you are reading And when it refers to in English, Lord, it is not who you think it means. That word is not what you think it means. And let me just give you another example of this. So when we look at the word mighty, for example, the word you get, again, is El. It's also what they would like to refer to is, this is the word that they refer to also for angels. But notice they also they use that word to refer to God. Okay, and again, this is the word that they use as they have exalted themselves because they want you to worship themselves. They want you to worship them, and they also want you to worship their Father. Okay, so notice they use that word and they kind of interchange it with Lord as well. And that's why they have placed it where they have placed it in the writings of our people. And then also, you have to look at what it says here. The word that they use for God, okay, also it says it refers to false God, a false God, okay. It tells you that this word also refers to God, a false God, demons. I mean, it's pretty clear here. You can't have two different meanings. I mean, we're talking about duality meanings here for this word. It doesn't make, there's a dichotomy here that doesn't make any sense. It can't mean something positive, the word, and then something negative, a negative entity at the same time that they're referring to. That's just, it doesn't make any sense. So what I'm helping you to understand is this is who they refer to when they refer to God. They refer to false gods. That's why they have, God, and then they say a false god, and then they also refer to demons. And that is what that word means. It is not what you think it means that they're telling you because of who they worship. They are worshiping their Father. And that's why I don't use the G word. And then another thing is all you have to do is, again, our language is like a mirror. If you read that word in reverse, the word God, it helps you to understand. It's very strange, but the word in reverse means dog. Okay, and then what's really bizarre about it, if you look at this word that they are using for, El, it says it's a shortened version, or it says it's shortened from the word Ayil. Now, that's a wordplay right there, because if you had watched the video that I did on Cain, I had mentioned in that video the word for howl, as in howl like a wolf, refers to, in the Western and Shemitic language of our people, it actually originates from the word Yalal or Yalala. And remember, that word also means, it also can, that would also, the root of that word comes from the word that they use for, yell. That's why they associate with the word howl, but it is associated with an animal. Okay, a wolf. Or it could even, associate obviously with the word for dog, as in canine. Very bizarre, but the truth is stranger than fiction. But it just helps you to understand that you've been lied to and you've been deceived, and the word that they give you for God is not what you think it means. It's what they told you, because that's what they wanted you to believe. So, I think you get the point. So let's talk about the word census. So if we look at that word census, we need to understand, first of all, the history of this word. The word census is not even a Shemitic word. It is a modern English word. And notice this word originated, the word census, in 1610. And who actually arrived in our lands in the 1600s? says, in reference to registration and taxation in Roman history, from Latin census, the enrollment of the names and property assessments of all Roman citizens. And then it goes on to say here, the modern use of census is official enumeration of the inhabitants of a country or state with details, and it begins in the U.S. 1790. So that's when the first census was taken. It's very curious that it is revealing to you the first census that was conducted in 1790 and who actually had taken that census. So let's go on to look up what that word means in our language. So if you go look up what that word means in our language, census, you get the word kafar. Okay, and now I think I'd mentioned this in some previous videos that there is no F sound, as in F as in Frank sound in our language, but there's no F sound like F as in Frank in our language, the Shemitic language, but there is a P sound, obviously, as in pa, the pa sound. So in our language, this would be pronounced kapar rather than kafar. Okay, but what is important to understand is this word has several meanings behind it, and all you have to do is you only have to look at the trilateral root of the language, the three consonants. You can use, in the ancient world, our people used bilateral roots, two consonants, for the root of a word. So if we go to look up that word using just the bilateral root, just find it here. What it's telling you here is that the word means to mark, to record, and again to number, to enumerate. So they're telling you to count. Okay, but that's just one meaning of the word. But the word is also telling you that it means it's referring to a book. Now, you have to understand something. What this word is, it actually means, because I'm not going to translate that entire verse, but what's important to understand is what that word census in the English language actually means in the Western Shemitic language of our people. It is not referring to an actual census that occurred in the original context of it, but it's helping you to identify who those people are and what this word means. So that word for census means kapar. And if you understand based on this root, all you have to do, there's several connotations here. If you look at it from the root of our language is like a mirror. So if you even read it from right to left, it's telling you, the word is rapa, and that is, again, the root for the word Europe. And if you read the word from left to right, it's just a word play for the word Kaaba, as in Kabbalists, because what you are reading is the satanic version of the ancestral records that they have given you of your people. It is their corrupt version. And the people that had written it were Kabbalists. They come from a long line of sorcerers. And yes, they implanted spells throughout the writings. But our people don't understand this because they are only telling you what they want you to know in the English version, which is not what was originally written. And so that is what this word is actually identifying, is not a book, but exactly who wrote the book. And those are, again, Kabbalists. And that also derives from the word Kabbalah. Okay, but they hid it by interchanging the B, as in boy, with the P. Okay, they switched it and hid it so you didn't understand what this actually means. And there's actually a version that they have given you of the book in the modern Hebrew language, that's just their Yiddish language. It's not the language of our people. It just helps you to understand that what you're really reading is not what you think you're reading, because you have to understand who gave you the translation and what they are. And that's it. That is exactly what it means. And right here, it tells you right here, you're looking at the same root of the word, kafar, which actually means kapar. It's the same word. And also from this word, you get the word for seraph, as in the seraphim class of angels. Okay, the angels that are also the fallen angels. Okay, so that again, that is another word play here that has been, that's where this word, the root of the word, originates from. And you can see here that the same word, they also telling you it means book or scroll. Same word. Okay, all you have to do is look at the root of the word. And that's what you're reading. You're reading a satanic version of the writings of our people, period. And this is for the people who don't get this. Until the ones wake up that are still under the mental subjugation of Sata, the ones that have given you their satanic translation of the writings of our people, until the ones that are still asleep begin to awaken the Shemitic mind within, they will never understand what they are reading until they learn how to read what was originally written in the language of our people. And that's it. That is it for today. That's all I would like to cover in today's presentation, because I wanted to address some of the comments that I get from people who continue to send me these comments and quote scripture in English when they have no clue what they're reading. Learn the language of your people. If you say that you are a Shemite, then begin to read and think like a Shemite. Otherwise, do not waste my time writing in, quoting in English, because you do not understand what you are reading. So thanks, brothers and sisters who get this, for tuning in. And one other thing, I would like to thank all of the Akotim, that is plural in our language for sisters, who have supported my research. And the other thing I would like to cover before I conclude today's presentation is some of the subject matter that I will be including, topics of discussion in my book, my upcoming book, The Bread of Heaven. One of the things I'm going to talk about is the meaning of the bread of heaven, why I decided to name my book by that title, and I'll go into that in the introduction of the book. And some of the other subjects that I will include will be, for example, the 400-year, so-called 400-year prophecy, and I will actually include what that prophecy actually means in the Shemitic language of our people. One of the other things I'm going to discuss is the Battle of Armageddon and how our people play a very viable role. We are not on the sidelines in this battle. You have to understand, brothers and sisters, there has been a war between good and evil that has been going on for thousands of years. Okay, between the children of light against the children of darkness. And we are on the front lines, brothers and sisters. We have no idea how important our role is in this battle. And so I'll be talking about that and the role that Jacob actually plays in the final battle. And one of the other topics I will include is the one of the verses in the book of the New Testament known as "The truth shall set you free," and what that actually really means, and how that ties into much of the biblical prophecy of our people. And then I also would like to discuss, and I'll include the creator gave me inspiration for that this morning, this to include the subject of the flaming sword and what that really means, because we have to understand that our creator has given our people power and we don't even know how to use it. But we have power that the creator has given us, and I'm going to be talking about that too, and what your sword really is, the flaming sword that our creator has given us to slay the dragon. So that's pretty much the highlights of my book. I think you'll find it very interesting. And there's much, much more that I am going to include in it, but those are the main things that I think that you'll be interested in reading. But thanks so much for tuning in, and I will continue to keep you posted. I'm going to be kind of in and out because right now I'm really trying to focus on my work right now and finishing and getting this book done. It's taking it's taking a considerable amount of time, and it will take considerable amount of research. So I may not be posting videos as often as I would like, as I have in the past, but I will try to post as often as I can. So thanks so much for tuning in, brothers and sisters. Please continue to support my channel, share and subscribe, and may the Most High awaken the Shemitic mind within. Shalom.